Welcome to the OtherWorldsGG Community Cast. This is episode number 68. I am Table for Two, and I am joined today by Mellified and Alien Pickle. How you guys doing?
Hey, this is Mellified. I am doing wonderfully. Excited to be here. Talk about some video games. How about you, Alien Pickle? How are you doing?
I'm so excited I can barely contain it.
You can hear it in your voice.
Well, we have some good news. I think there's some good stories in here that I want to hear your thoughts on, Pickle. So
yeah, and just before we started recording, I actually added one more story to the list. So
nice. All right.
Over the line.
Flag on the play.
Mark it 0. It's over the line.
Mark the frickin' 0. The dude abides. Well. Planet Zoo gets axolotls. Is that how you say that?
Axolotl, I think, is the
axolotl and leopards and more and new conservation pack DLC. So if you're into Planet Zoo, go pick up the new DLC.
There are many zoos on Ix. Oh wait, that was the axolotl tanks that were on Ix.
Yeah, that Dune. Was Dune. Yeah. This is by the guys who did Planet Coaster, but it's also the same company that Dangerous. Does that?
Yeah, Elite Dangerous.
Seem strange.
Well, Elite Dangerous. The Frontier actually has done coaster games before. Before they did Elite Dangerous, they had some other like utility
theme park world thing.
That they did, and that was kind of interesting. But yeah, it's really weird that Frontier is continuing to develop and work on these other games when it feels like Elite Dangerous is just like, I feel like there's just going to get to a point where Elite Dangerous where they're like, okay, we're done. Like we've tried to keep this thing alive for long enough. We're done, because it just doesn't. What?
Why is your chicken meowing?
I don't know what the chicken's doing. They're noisy.
No, I heard a cat meow, and I was like, why is the chicken meowing now?
I don't know where you're at meow, but anyway.
You don't hear that?
I hear the chicken. I just don't hear it meowing.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess it is the chicken then. It's just the way that his mic cuts it off. It just sounded like a meow instead of a cock-a-doodle-doo. So I'm like, why is the chicken meowing?
Yeah.
You'll hear it on the tape. Anyway, yeah.
All right. Well, moving right along, open world fishing game Call of the Wild, the Angler announced. Do you guys like fishing games? I played one on the N64 back in the day, and that was about as far as I went.
They can be fun. They have a very clear reward mechanic. This is the folks who did The Hunter as well, which was a pretty well received game. So, I think they could do a lot with it. It'll be interesting to see.
Nice.
No shortage of competition though.
That's true.
When are they gonna make like another Sega bass fishing, like extreme goofy Dreamcast fishing game?
Do
you remember they actually had a controller they sold for the Dreamcast?
Yeah, I do.
I have one actually, yeah. And I have one from Bass Pro Master Shop for the Xbox 360. They had a controller for that one.
Maybe that's the one that I remember.
But I haven't seen a good arcade fishing game in a while. I think a lot of that moved to mobile, oddly enough. And you only get the simmy ones, on PC.
Did you ever play? There was an old iPhone game. It was called Extreme Fishing, and it was basically like dynamite fishing. Because you're like chucking dynamite over the boat, and it did like all kinds of weird stuff. It was just a freak show of a game. It took nothing about fishing seriously.
I do remember that, and it was on console too, I believe.
Oh, was it? Yeah, because it like dude like cast a line, the hook goes like past all the fish on the way to the bottom, and then as he reels it back up, you have to lean it left and right to catch all the fish that you go by. And then there was like dynamite was like your smart bomb. Yeah, we need more of that in the world. We need MMOs that have more fishing mechanics. Cause...
you know, the game that shockingly had a cathartic fishing experience was Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yes, it did. That game did so many things right, and then when you went to online, it did them all wrong.
Well, not necessarily. It only did them all wrong when like more and more people started playing it online. It's like when for online first came out, like on the PC and stuff like that, it was like pretty chill, and you could have like a really great co-op experience. And then all the hackers came over from GTA Online and started like, dropping wagon trains on you and shit like that.
Yeah. I still want the Gentleman Broncos flying reindeer with the missile launcher. Do you remember when I made that meme right after Red Dead came out?
Yes,
I was like, this is it. We're gonna get the flying motorcycle with the lock-on missiles because
it's gonna be a flying horse
have to be
instead.
A deer.
Yeah, or a deer or something. Yeah. Well, Super Bomberman R2 announced. Are you guys Super Bomberman fans? Yeah, the thing about Super Bomberman for me, I've enjoyed it, but it's kind of like a Mario Party thing where it's just like I can only play it for so long, and then I'm like, all right, I'm out.
The only time I've played Bomberman was actually not in a Bomberman game, but it was in that Lost Ark MMO because they had a mission in there that was straight up Bomberman. It was like you're running in a maze that was, like a grid of cubes, and there were some paths that were blocked by stuff that you could blow up, right? And you had to collect all these bomb seeds before you went into the level. So it's like, well, I gathered 100 of these. Now I can go in there and mine crystals or whatever. And you would mine by dropping bombs, and they blew up exactly like Bomberman, right? It was like a plus sign of explosion that would happen. And there was monsters wandering in the maze. And I was like, this is basically Bomberman. Okay.
Well, one of the things that's interesting about Bomberman R2 is they did Super Bomberman R, which was not terribly well received. And then they did Bomberman R Online. And as of this announcement, Bomberman R Online is shutting down in January. So I don't know if they're going to put a new online mode in R2 or what, but I know people were a little bit disappointed because the online game has not been out that long. It was actually a Stadia exclusive originally.
So what about Pac-Man with bombs? Because that's kind of what Bomberman is, right?
Pac-Man with bombs. That's an interesting concept.
Yeah. But I don't know how you make more than Bomberman 2, right? Like, how much can you innovate on Pac-Man with bombs? It's like you run around in a maze and you drop bombs and blow up monsters and usually yourself. Because you suck like I do.
Yeah, I think they've tried different things to innovate on the formula, but mixed success for sure.
Okay, so what about Mr. Driller Drill Land, but with bombs? And we call it Mr. Bomber Land, whatever. But it's a battle royale because there's 100 people with bombs.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, let's move.
And the enemies are bombs, and you're a bomb. Everything's a bomb. Look under your seat. There's a bomb.
Well, we're returning to the island of Monkey Island. There's a new game that is coming out. There's a development platform confirmed with reveal trailer. This new one has got a slightly unique art style to it. It's kind of almost like a paper mache, cartoony kind of look to it. That's kind of interesting, but it's really cool.
I wasn't expecting the monkeys to be bombs.
Oh god, it just never ends. But I'm actually really excited for a new Monkey Island game. All indications point that it's still going to have the same style of humor and fun and adventure as the other Monkey Islands. So I'm really.
So will this be Monkey Island 3?
No, this is 5.
Yeah.
5. Wow.
Arguably 7 because they did 2 seasons of the Telltale ones too.
Oh yeah, that's right. And there's already
there were 4 originals plus the 2 Telltale ones, I think.
And there's already a Steam store page for it too. So Return to Monkey Island. You can go add it to your wish list. It's supposed to release sometime this year, and like I said, I think it looks pretty good. So
this is the return of the creator Ron Gilbert to the series. as
Oh yeah,
well, so.
that's right. Yeah, there was a big deal about that. Yep.
So. Well, now that the trial's over, then we can have Johnny Depp back.
Oh no.
Or wait, no, that's other pirate game.
That's the other pirate franchise, yeah.
Okay.
We also
I kind of like that. I like that pirate thing, but I guess that pirate thing never really existed. That's just like pure fantasy based off of the book Treasure Island. Like pirates were never actually like and shiver me timbers and whatever.
Yeah, there's a disconnect between like the fantasy pirates and like real pirates. I think people like the fantasy pirates better.
How come there's never been like a Dungeons and Dragons pirate game? I'm unaware of one if there ever was, but
Pillars of Eternity 2 wasn't far off.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true.
You spent so much time sailing between islands and stuff, but there's a TV series, Black Sails, that was on Stars for 3 or 4 seasons. That is a much more accurate portrayal of pirates.
But it's also a prequel to Treasure Island.
Right. But the depiction of the pirates as sort of this egalitarian society where, you know, the ship crew voted on who the captain was going to be, and you know, had a say in what they were all doing, unlike, you know, the contemporary military ships of the time, was actually, you know, kind of interesting to see portrayed.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about, like, I want a straight up fantasy ass pirate thing. You know, I want Merry and Pippin with eye patches that say, "What about Second Mutiny?"
Have you've played Sea of Thieves?
Maybe. Oh yeah, that game that I don't like. Yeah, I mean, basically, sure, that kind of Sea of Thieves thing. But I'm talking about like pen and paper tabletop RPG. Why did that never get made?
I don't know, man. I have no idea.
Well, this might be a good time to talk about the next pirate video game that's been rumored to be coming out for quite a while. Skull and Bones by Ubisoft. This was announced shortly after Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, which had a pretty substantial pirate aspect to it.
Dude, that was like 10 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's still its best pirate game, though, really.
Mm-hmm.
2017, like that feels like a lifetime ago.
It was a launch PS4 title, I remember. And so Skull and Bones has been in development this whole time, and it just got ESRB rated, so that actually suggests that it's coming out, and there's another leak that points to a November release date. So we might actually see this game finally this year. We'll see.
5 years later. That's crazy. You know, we talk about Mega Man. You know, that was something in our last show. Last week I talked about my Steamdeck. I use it primarily as like my RPG machine, but the one thing I do have on it is like the Mega Man X Legacy Collection 1 and 2 and the Mega Man ZX Collection on there, because, you know, it's fun to have some fun side scrollers on there. But leading up now, though, Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection has been announced. This is kind of like an online thing, is it not? Or am I thinking of the other Mega Man thing?
I remember this as being an online thing. I didn't realize there were so many of them, though. I don't remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different Battle Network titles.
Well, it's confusing because it's like Battle Network 2, Battle Network 3 White, Battle Network 3 Blue, 4 Red Sun, 4 Blue Moon, 5 Team Proto Man, 5 Team Colonel. Like,
yeah, it sounds like a Pokemon.
Yeah,
right.
It's weird. You got Pokemon in there. So with the Mega Man thing, with the Battle Network, is that where it turned into like a third person over the shoulder run around as
No. These were Game Boy games. That's what these were. So there is a thing on Steam that's like a Mega Man like online fighting thing. These are all like a collection of Game Boy games, it looks like, that are being brought to the PC, Switch, PlayStation 4.
So it's like that Capcom Castlevania collection that's actually like Castlevania Advance and clones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, so they've been like, they've been enhanced visually, so they're not as pixely. Man, yeah, I forgot. So yeah, there's been a few different works of Mega Man over the years. Sometimes it's kind of hard to like remember what is what and where. Because one of the other news stories that we're going to talk about, well, we can just talk about it now, is that they the Nintendo Online stuff for the Sega collection on Nintendo Online is adding a bunch of new Sega games, and one of them, which I had no idea about, was Mega Man, the how do you what is the name of this thing? It's hard to read it here, but it's totally, the Wily Wars. Mega Man the Wily Wars was like a Sega Genesis game. I had no idea there was a Mega Man game on Sega.
And Wily Wars makes it sound like it's the bad guy from Sonic. Wasn't that Dr. Wily?
Uh-huh.
No, that was Eggman, wasn't it?
Oh, maybe so.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like Mega Man and Knuckles.
Well,
but yeah, I'm looking at screenshots, right? And like the overworld thing for the Game Boy stuff, it straight up looks like Pokemon. Like I couldn't tell this isn't a Pokemon game.
Are you talking about the other Mega Man thing? Yeah,
the Mega Man Battle Network stuff.
Yeah.
But I remember there was a Mega Man series. I thought it was something Battle Network, but it was like PlayStation, and it's when they were making like primitive 3D games, right? So it was like Mega Man third person running around in some Tron looking world.
Well, there was a 3D Mega Man game that did come out. And I think it was on the PlayStation. I'm not entirely sure.
Right. I'm sure everybody that's listening that actually knows.
They're freaking. Yeah, I was about to say they're all yelling at us right now. But then what was really fun is someone made that first person old school Mega Man shooter multiplayer game that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was like Doom Mega Man multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was pretty lit, actually. We played that one night for a couple hours.
Yeah, I actually really liked that one a lot. But I feel like there definitely was like a third person like Mega Man one at one point, but who knows?
Well, on the throwback game front, we're also getting an Atari 50 anniversary collection. And this promises to be released in 2022. And they're talking about games inspired by some of the Atari classics, as well as, the expected sort of standard retro games. But they're saying 90 plus games, over 60 minutes of interviews, and a retrospective on gaming history. So something to look forward to if that's your thing.
Oh yeah, and it was Mega Man Legends was the third person.
Funnily enough, that has not gotten a re-release to my knowledge. So maybe there's
X7 also had a third person Mega Man X7.
Okay.
So there you go. The more you know, I guess.
The Hunt Showdown is Crytek's sort of take on Battle Royale. It's got a pretty strong stealth and shooter element to it. And they've put out a big 1.9 patch that tweaks the propagation of audio gunfire sound. It adjusts up their black market system. They've changed ammo. They've rebalanced guns. They fixed desyncs. They've added characters. More map changes. They've widened the spawn spacing so you're not as likely to spawn near other people. and they capped games at 45 minutes because they said only 1% of games ever went beyond that mark. So, it's nice to see they're continuing to put time into this. I know some of our community members are big fans of the Hunt Showdown. I personally have only played it a little bit, but
I've enjoyed the Hunt Showdown quite a bit. I like it a lot.
So, Danganronpa asks, Ultimate Summer Camp is getting released on PC, PS4, and smartphones soon.
Is that one of those like click and it's like a visual novel kind of thing?
Yes,
it's just like a dialogue clicker.
Yeah, it's a murder mystery. Somebody is the murderer, and there's a weird like battle royale element to it where characters are getting killed off and you have to figure out who did it. But Monokuma is the bear that's kind of famous from these games where he's half white, half black, and all evil. So the game was originally released for the Switch as part of a Danganronpa Decadence collection set, but now they're bringing it separately to other platforms. So something to look forward to if you enjoy those games.
I don't know much. I don't know much about this one, but Monster Sanctuary gets free Forgotten World DLC. Have you played Monster Sanctuary, Malphite?
I have not. I have it on PC. I got it cheap in a bundle or something, and I've never actually played it.
It's also on Game Pass. I have played it. It's pretty decent.
Yeah, it's like almost like a Terraria style looking game, and
yeah,
it's a good style. I like that style. I like Starbound, for example. Starbound's a fun one.
Okay, so hear me out. Castlevania, Pokemon. It's like a Metroidvania Pokemon game.
Well, that's
what it is.
I was gonna say that's how they describe Monster Sanctuary. So
yeah, because that's legit. It's a Metroidvania, but you pick like 3 monsters, right? And you can rotate which monster is primary, and then whenever you have fights, it's like a turn-based thing. But the monster, when you're in the moving around overworld mode, then the monster has its powers, right? So like if you have like a fire monster, then you can use it to like burn cobwebs out of your way and stuff. Or if you have like a monster that can glide, you can use it like a hang glider to go between platforms that you couldn't otherwise. Stuff like that. So they're monsters with utility beyond fighting. It's kind of it's cool. Like, like a ambitious little indie title that actually turned out well.
Interesting.
Well, speaking of weird indie titles, there's a game called Garage Bad Dream Adventure, which I would describe as sort of the Japanese version of Darkseid. It's very H.R. Geiger-esque in its art in many cases, but sort of mixed with a little bit more of a Japanese aesthetic. And the game was published back in 1999, and only 3,000 copies were made.
It's also got this weird point and click adventure thing going on. That kind of reminds me of like a Sierra adventure game, but like really not for children at all.
Yeah, this is definitely not a kid's game. The creator just described it as being cribbed from his nightmares. And so it's a bizarre one, but the game has never been released in English before, and so it'll be out on Steam on July 8th.
Yeah,
and again, it's Garage Bad Dream Adventure.
What a bizarre title. Yeah. Let's see here. Sonic Origins co-developer is very unhappy about the state of the game. I guess fans aren't happy, and nor is its developers, I guess. I'm not familiar with Sonic Origins. Do you know more about this?
I just know that the game came out, and as sort of a tribute to the 2D Sonic games, it has remastered versions of Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles and Sonic CD. But there are a bunch of bugs, there are glitches, there's just, sloppy updates to it. So
it's like a full collection, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, because it's like, why not just get like the ports that are already out there? Because the ports that are already out there are like really good, and like Sonic Mania is like really good too. So it's kind of, it seems really rather
I think they were
unfortunate.
trying to, update them, adds, clean up the art a little bit and stuff, and
I'll add like the cartoon stuff in there, and
yeah, but they botched it. It sounds like, so that's really disappointing.
well, here's hoping they get this stuff fixed. I didn't even realize that was a thing that was coming out. So interesting there.
Well,
go ahead.
Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin is a game that our own Alien Pickle recommended because he enjoyed the protagonists. If I remember correctly, Jim, am I thinking of the right game on that?
Which game are you talking about?
Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin.
Oh yeah.
The one with
it was
Smart Alec.
Oh, absolutely.
Hero.
It's like the game is super dumb, great gameplay. It's like, what more could you want? And it's super self-aware.
Yes. Well, they've got their first expansion for the game coming out in July, and they did a teaser trailer on their site, which actually rickrolled people who clicked on the trailer for a little while, which is kind of funny. And they are named it Trials of the Dragon King, and it's focused on Bahamut, one of the baddies in the Final Fantasy world. So that'll be out on July 20th.
Well, here's an interesting one. I remember when this game first came out, and I actually got a copy of it. But the game 13, do you guys remember that one? It was the one with the Roman numerals.
So it's stylized like XIII, right?
Right, yeah. Well, it got
a French comic originally, I believe.
Right. Well, it got a remake back in 2019, and I guess when it launched, it didn't get a lot of really like good following. I seem to enjoy the game, me personally, but when they did the remake, I never got invested in getting the remake. But apparently, the remake was so bad that Microids actually issued a public apology for it, and now they're doing a remake of the remake to I guess hopefully do better. They're using a different developer this time, I think, to do the remake of the remake. So
yeah, well, one of the problems with the remake, right, is really exemplified by a screenshot in this article from PC Gamer, where the original had a very cel-shaded style graphics that kind of harkened back to the original graphic novel, and it was a Belgian graphic novel, I should clarify, not French. And for some reason, when they did the original, this first remake, they just did full like regular 3D graphics characters, and so they kind of missed the point of it being this graphic novel style visuals and made it just sort of a normal 3D thing. So hopefully this new remake does it a little more justice to the source material.
For sure. Well, Dune Spice Wars is out on Steam, and you can pick up the early access game now. It's actually currently on the Steam sales for 20% off. But as another clarifier, it is still in early access on Steam, but they have finally added in the multiplayer support. So now that it has online PvP and co-op that you can get in there and play, which means, Jim, We need to get our Harkonnen and Atreides fight on. So
yeah, I've been hovering over the buy button on that thing. I'm not convinced yet.
Well, I mean, you can always get it, play for an hour with me, and then return it if you don't like it. There is that.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, what else we got here?
Speaking of bad next-gen updates or remakes, Capcom updated Resident Evil 7 and 2 and 3, the remakes of 2 and 3. And so when they did this update, they drastically changed the system requirements, which made the game not run on a lot of people's kind of mid-range laptops. And because of the way they released it, there was no way to go back or preserve the current version. And so they've actually now given people a way to go back to the previous release if they didn't like these updates or it made the game not run. So nice of them to do that, I guess.
Did you include the Blade Runner thing in this?
Yes, it's coming up.
Okay, we'll get to that then in a second.
I forget where I put it, but I know I had it in here. Oh yes, it just doesn't have it in the headline, but we can talk about it now. So on similar vein, an enhanced edition of Blade Runner was released.
The game, by the way.
The game, yes.
1997, I believe.
Yeah, late 90s adventure game. And one of the things that it bragged about was done by Westwood Studios from Command and Conquer fame. And one of the things it bragged about was that there were over 70 characters and air quotes, any of them could be a replicant. And so you had to...
Yeah, each time you played, it could be a different outcome.
Yeah. And so it's been, I think, fair to say, a cult classic. It's been available on GOG and it is supported by ScumVM now. But this new enhanced edition promised to improve the highly compressed videos, increase the frame rate, allow modern HD resolutions, subtitle support, gamepad support, all these kind of things. And unfortunately, the game, people have not been terribly happy with the enhanced edition, to the point where Night Dive ultimately released the classic version for people so they could go back and play that instead. So
yeah, they attempted to enhance like some of the gameplay mechanics and menus and stuff like that, which I don't know if it was completely necessary, because I guess what they were trying to do was add in controller support was really the goal, I think, behind all of that, which props to them for that. But I mean, it's a point and click adventure game. It's kind of hard to remap for a controller, maybe. I don't know, but the original one does play really well even on modern stuff. So I can say that I endorse that one. So go, and if you're gonna get it, you might as well get the original one on GOG anyway. So that's just my 2 cents.
Well, now you're gonna get the original and the enhanced if you buy the enhanced, though. So
I guess, sure.
Night Dive generally, I think they've said they're going to continue to work on it and improve it. So hopefully that bears some fruit. HROT is HROT, all caps, is a kind of what's genre known as boomer shooters. These are kind of throwbacks to the 90s era fast-paced FPS games, and this one's set in Czechoslovakia after an unspecified disaster in 1986. And they've just released part 2 of the campaign for the game as a free update. So if you want to continue playing the story, you can now do that in HROT.
Nice.
Did you ever play Slime Rancher, either of you?
Yes. It's a great disservice that game was never made into a co-op game. And neither is Slime Rancher 2.
Yeah, I did play a mod that added co-op to Slime Rancher, but it was not an official thing, unfortunately. Game really... I don't understand why they didn't do it for the sequel, at least. That makes no sense to me.
It's the perfect kind of game to like let another player come in and explore the world with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do things and whatever, but...
Well, the game is coming out in fall of 2022, and it will be on Game Pass at its release. So at least we'll get to try it out for free.
Well, there's a lot of things to be said about certain games and wondering whether or not they're needed. There's definitely no shortage of awkward sims on Steam. But
Daddy Shower Simulator and
all freaking weird stuff,
things.
But you see now, there's an adventure game about getting a divorce. So if you've ever wanted to live vicariously through that disaster, well, there you go. Oddly enough, it's also coming out on the Switch. So like, I don't know what they're trying to.
I
don't know.
Yeah, it's got kind of a very cartoony, simplified art style. So it'll be interesting.
I believe it's actually called My Divorce Story.
Yes, it is. So
what a weird.
Yeah, it's an odd subject matter for sure.
Well, for a video game, like.
Right.
Next.
We have a mod that makes Stellaris into a Mass Effect strategy game. So you can command your various races in battle and send them to fight each other. There are 24 civilizations to choose from, including subvariants of the major races and second string favorites like the Volus or Vorcha. You've got things like the Citadel and Omega Deep Station. And so there's plenty of Mass Effect lore and stuff in this game. They are planning to do a lot more with it, including full voice actor or voiceover support. So it'll be interesting to see how this continues to develop. But it is available through the Steam Workshop. Beyond the Relays.
Yeah, the sub headline for this article from PC Gamer reads: Beyond the Relays keeps the iconic sci-fi setting, but ditches the steamy steamy workplace romance. Which I kind of find funny. Nice. I will be really cool. I will be checking that one out. So until the next Stellaris update comes out and breaks it, but,
Right. Gordian Quest is a deck building RPG that's certainly inspired by the genre's classics, as PC Gamer put it. It just recently left early access. It's got a 92% positive Steam rating with about 3,500 reviews. So definitely a strong contender. It doesn't do anything, I don't think, revolutionary, but it certainly looks to be a very polished deck building RPG. So if that's your jam, this would definitely be a good one to check out. That was Gordian Quest. Another strategy RPG that's come out recently is called Symphony of War: The Nephilim Saga. I have not had a chance to play this one yet, but it looks really interesting. It's kind of a mix of Ogre Battle and Advance Wars, which are two of some of my favorite games of all time. There's a kind of standard RPG element, but you've also got things like, in relationships between your characters, including marriage. You have a bunch of different equipment, and they estimate about a 30-hour campaign. So, although many people have said 40 plus. So, definitely something that looks to be kind of an exciting twist on some of the classic games in the strategy RPG world. And again, that was Symphony of War: The Nephilim Saga.
Well, speaking of mods, Yeah, Skyrim's been pretty notorious for just, massive amounts of mods and people doing massive mod lists to improve and give better textures and experiences and make it look so pretty in those screenshots. Well, there's now a new ridiculous Skyrim mod that gives dragons 16K textures. Jeebus.
Like my monitor can't show more than 4, so.
Well, I mean, it's not the texture on the dragon itself is 16K. It doesn't necessarily mean that your monitor has to be 16K in order to view it. Because textures.
But I can only fit so many pixels.
Okay.
I need more pixels.
Well, there might be a way to, can you download more pixels? Is there a button for that?
Well, the idea is that when you're fighting a dragon up close, you're actually looking at a portion of the dragon. And so that portion, the whole dragon is 16K resolution, but you, when you're fighting them, are only seeing part of the dragon. So you want that to be in basically 4K when you're up close and personal with the dragons. So that's the theory behind it, at least. It definitely looks, really good, like you'd expect it to. So kudos to the team for that mod.
No doubt.
So there's a game called Townscaper, which is sort of a low-key city building simulator where you just kind of chill out and build this little seaside town. And the game inspired some other developers who have now made a title called Islands and Trains. And it's basically Townscaper, but on an island where you have to build a train around the island to connect different parts of the islands to each other. So it looks really cutesy, very, very chill, laid back design, very similar to Townscaper, and they certainly wear that inspiration on their sleeve based on some interviews with the developers. So that floats your boat. Give it a check. Give it a wish list. It's no release date announced yet.
Well, there's a version of Doom out there that I'm sure most of you probably will never have been able to play, and I'd was never going to do it. So hobbyists have finally ported over Carmack's final Dune game to the PC. It was a mobile API Doom called Doom RPG, I believe. And yeah, it was a mobile game that hobbyists have actually ported over, so now people can play it. I think I'm good. I don't think I need a reason to play this, but cool to know that, for the game preservation side of things, that it's still out there.
So there's a game that came out recently called Neon White, and it has an overwhelmingly positive rating on Steam, but there's sort of a difference of opinion as to why the game is great. Now, to understand the controversy, you have to understand the game itself is an FPS platformer. So a big part of the game is doing a run through a level in as short a time as possible. And there is a leaderboard that allows you to compare your times with your friends. So you can compare and contrast your skill with your buddies. But when you're done with the FPS platforming, the game basically drops into an anime visual novel with all sorts of anime tropes and silliness and hammy voice acting and weird phrases. Like, the vibes are immaculate. So it's a little bit absurd, obviously, and for some people that's a big selling point. For others, it's sort of a turnoff. But either way, it seems like if this game sounds like something you'd enjoy, whether the visual novel portion or the FPS platformer, it seems like this game's got something for you.
Nice. Well, unfortunately, and maybe for like a mixed reasons, microtransactions may be coming to Halo the Master Chief Collection. Now, to clarify, this is all purely cosmetic stuff, though. There is a current system in the game where the more you play and do different challenges all the time, you can unlock these points that you can use in their essentially their seasons kind of thing to unlock different cosmetics, visor colors, warthog designs, blah blah blah. And they're exploring the idea of allowing people to pay cash for those points to be able to use them in the store. Although they did go on the record of saying they are happy with the current system, but they are exploring this optional alternative for people who don't have a lot of opportunity to grind as frequently to be able to just buy the color they want for a thing. So I'm typically okay with microtransactions for cosmetics, but I feel like you have to keep an eye on the developer that they don't start sneaking in other BS. But there you go.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's where I would worry, is not so much now, but after people get used to it, then they just keep jacking up the time it takes.
The developers get a taste of that sweet cash that they can get on, it's like, paying $1 here and there for a thing is one thing, but when you get like 1 million people paying that $1, it's just like, oh hey, $1 million, all right.
Indeed. Halo Infinite's co-op beta is coming on July 11th, so find a friend and get ready to play some Halo Infinite campaign.
Get that shit installed, Jim. Let's go.
The GameCube has been soft moddable for a while with a little bit of hardware required to kind of enable the soft mod to be repeatable. Somebody figured out a way to use a Raspberry Pi Pico, which is one of the super tiny little $4 versions, and basically connect it up to the GameCube, and it interrupts the boot process and enables you to load whatever system you want, and you can even go right into the Game Boy interface if you want, as an option. So on boot time, if you hold down B, you can go right into your Game Boy interface, and if you hold nothing, then you go into the GameCube menus. So pretty neat idea. Certainly nice to see it being done with commodity hardware that's at least somewhat available these days. All right, so one of the challenges that the Mister has, and one of its advantages, is that it has in its design a way to standardize the output format for a bunch of different systems. So, one of the challenges of getting retro gaming systems to work a lot of times is they are hard. They're not necessarily compatible with modern TVs or modern capture cards, things like that. And the Mister, because it standardizes everything to a specific resolution refresh rate on HDMI, makes it really easy to capture or view those games. But that also means that there are some potential delays and it's not as accurate. So somebody has basically got a prototype out for the Mister that allows it to work with variable refresh rate displays like the very popular LG C series OLEDs. So now if a game, say the Mortal Kombat arcade title, which ran at 53.2 hertz refresh rate, you'll actually be able to play it at 53.2 hertz on a variable refresh rate display, rather than forcing it to 50 or 60 hertz. So this is just making it, so that we have even more accurate game preservation and playability for these old game systems. So super cool. A couple of other Mr. updates that we've got. We've got a score of new games coming out on the arcade front. The PlayStation Core continues to get a bunch of fixes and tweaks for specific games to improve its emulation or replication. In Japan, there was a Taito Egret arcade system mini that came out, and one of the neat things about it is it had a spinner controller for games like Arkanoid. And someone has now come up with a firmware update for the Taito Egret spinner controller so that it can work with the Mister as a USB device, which is pretty cool. And we also finally have seen updates to more than a half a dozen of the Mister cores with fixes and tweaks and improvements. So if you haven't updated your Mister in a while, it might be a good time to do so.
Very, very nice. Well, what do we got going on with some of this Nintendo stuff?
The only really big news was the Portal Companion Collection came out for Switch, and almost immediately hackers figured out how to get Half-Life running because it's based on the same engine. So they were loading up Half-Life levels inside of the Portal Companion on homebrew-enabled Switches. So it's just kind of funny.
God bless those hackers, man.
Yeah, it took a day, I think, was the headline I saw. So
that's awesome.
In I'm not dead yet news, Stadia may be getting an NVIDIA GPU upgrade, apparently.
So reading through this article, it's confusing. Yeah. Like, I'm not sure what the hell I'm reading. But apparently the backend systems that Stadia uses are AMD GPUs, but they're looking to expand their stuff by adding in support of NVIDIA GPUs. But like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand what the purpose of them switching would be, other than maybe the NVIDIA ones would give better performance in general. But
NVIDIA has a pretty extensive line of GPUs for the data center, and so maybe this is to allow them to use that to make it more efficient. But that is the reason I could think of,
and that is possible. And one thing I started thinking about with this, though, is at what point would this be a cause of concern for NVIDIA's similar platform to what they offer firsthand? Mm-hmm. You know, I gotta wonder at what point
is GeForce Now.
You're like, you're not allowed to use our GPUs for that service because that's directly competing with our service or with our hardware, or I don't know.
Yeah, they could potentially do a license, agreement or something that would restrict that. But I know, for example, Amazon AWS has NVIDIA GPU based instances that you can rent, and I know people even use those for gaming in some cases, for cloud gaming as a DIY solution. So I don't know how NVIDIA would restrict one and not the other.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's incredible that we're still hearing Stadia news anyway. Like, I just I don't.
Yes, it's surprised me, that's for sure. Not so surprising, AMD's FSR technology, which allows you to render at a lower resolution and then upscale it without or with minimal loss of quality. They hit 2.0 on this, which improved the technology and made it more universal. It's now available on Xbox and in Unreal Engine 4 and 5 via a plugin. So game developers can start using this technology a lot more easily, and I suspect we'll see it embraced, given that consoles potentially can use this, since both Xbox and PlayStation are based on AMD GPUs, although this technology does work on NVIDIA GPUs as well. All right, we teased this one on our last episode, but people have been modding their Steam Decks, and one of the challenges with upgrading the storage on the Steam Deck is it only has room for a 2230 size SSD, which is the smallest form factor for NVMe SSDs available. Currently, we can only get a 1 terabyte SSD in the 2230 size. And although 2 terabyte drives are coming later this year, the Steam Deck also only supports single-sided SSDs. You can't have chips on both sides of the board. So it's very unlikely that the 2 terabytes will work with the Steam Deck when they do come out, because all the ones that have been announced are double-sided. So people have been modifying the internals of the Steam Deck to use the slightly larger and more common 2242 size. And I know these numbers are kind of gobbledygook, I apologize. But basically, people are using a bigger SSD than Valve intended. And in doing that, they're actually removing a thermal pad from inside the Steam Deck to get it to fit. And Valve came out and basically said, you really shouldn't be doing this. You're going to fry your Steam Deck. You're going to cook it a lot faster, because that thermal pad's there for a reason. As well, Valve noted that many 2242 drives draw more power and get hotter than what the Steam Deck is designed to handle. And as a result, doing this may cook your Steam Deck and void your warranty.
Just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you should do a thing. It's funny because I also watched a Linus Tech Tip video where they modified their Steam Deck and added a giant heat sink to the back of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually improved performance quite a bit. But I mean, the heat sink was also like 3 inches sticking out of the back of this thing.
But that's the thing, right? Any portable system, thermal management is going to be the limiting factor, right? How quickly can I get the heat out of the system and into the air? Running a bunch of fans takes battery life away from actually this, being able to use the system. It also can be noisy. That's certainly been a complaint some people have had with the Steam Deck. So
that's really the Game Boy accessory that was missing, right? You had like the magnifier and the light and the strap-on buttons and an extra joystick that went on it, but there was no way to like strap a desk fan to the back of it.
Yeah, sadly, missed opportunity by Nintendo, clearly. In other Steam Deck news, Valve has apparently changed the SSD that is available, or that they're using in the higher end Steam Decks. And Valve is saying basically this impacts performance in only very, very uncommon cases, that under normal usage it has no effect. But at least on paper, these new SSDs are like half the speed of the original SSD that Valve included in the system. So I can understand why people may be a little ticked off, but I suspect Valve wouldn't be doing it if they thought it was going to hurt the platform. So.
Well, when it comes to storage, you were just talking about storage. There is now a 1.5 terabyte micro SD card. I don't even understand how.
Micro SD is the format that's about as big as your pinky nail. It's very, very small, smaller than a postage stamp sized memory card. And the biggest available previously was a 1 terabyte from SanDisk. This new one is considered an industrial micro SD, which I didn't even know that was a thing. But Micron is selling these up for things like, always on cameras that needs local storage. They're also talking about it for various industrial system applications.
I don't know if I've talked about this here on the show, but I feel like I've talked about this with you guys at one point. But like back in 2005, which was 17 years ago from this recording, I remember going to Walmart and buying a 2 gig flash drive for $100. Right, 2 gig flash. 17 years ago. Relatively speaking, that's not too terribly long ago, right? And then, the idea of terabyte hard drives I think at that point we were just getting ready to like they were just doing like 500 gig spinners as like the big hot new thing, and then it probably wasn't until like the 2010s and stuff like that you started seeing terabyte hard drives becoming like the new thing.
Standard.
And then like in a matter of a decade, like 10 years, you've got 16 terabytes spinning hard drives. You've got these solid state hard drives that can do 2, 4 or more terabytes, it seems like. And micro SD cards, freaking the storage capacity went nuts in such a short period of time. You got more and more storage on smaller and smaller medium. It's pretty nuts how quickly that advanced.
Yeah, it's funny though because both SD cards and micro SD cards have sort of been sitting at 1 terabyte for a few years now. There's just, I don't know if it's a lack of demand for larger sizes or the focus is on SSDs, not the SD card and micro SD cards that the developers or the manufacturers are improving density on SSDs instead. But this is the first time I've seen anything over a terabyte in this form factor, so it's kind of interesting. Doesn't seem like it's kept pace with all those other innovations that you were talking about.
Yeah, but I mean, just the same though. Like, I mean, when it feels like it's so hard to get your hand, like maybe storage has kind of got like a price to it, or quality storage. I think about Jim. He works in big data, and I've been dealing with some storage array stuff recently at my job, and buying storage array stuff with like 16 terabyte hard drives, and putting them in RAIDs and stuff like that, costing thousands of dollars, and then here comes...
So let me tell you what an enterprise 8 terabyte SSD costs. About $10,000, and you buy them in packs of 25 because that's how many fit in a shelf.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And so just like all of a sudden now to see a 1.5 terabyte micro SD card come along, my first thought is like, how long does that last? What's the shelf life of that thing? Like what like how many read writes can I get on that thing before it's dead? Because 1.5 terabyte micro SD card, and you think about the Steamdeck, its ability to read and write on an SD card is actually supposed to be really well in performance, to the point of like having games on it. You can like run games on it and be fine. Shocks me. So it's like, I could get a 1.5 terabyte micro SD card for my Steamdeck and like be set for quite a while. So anyway, just crazy.
Microsoft's Edge browser got a game streaming upgrade that improves the performance of web-based streaming like xCloud. So always nice to see that. They basically are calling it Clarity Boost and a more energy efficient option as well. So you're getting better quality graphics and using less power at the same time.
Nice. So the crypto market is in shambles, and people have been selling their used GPUs online all over the place, but be aware, there's been quite a few of them that have been sold that have dead memory chips on them. So when trying to get like a used 3080 out there, just be mindful.
Well, they're not selling for that much cheaper than full retail, so just don't buy them.
Yeah, I mean,
brand new.
I tell people when it comes to a GPU, you're probably better off buying brand new than buying refurbished or used.
Do you want to pay like new price for a rental car with 100,000 miles on it that somebody just abused the shit out of?
All right. Well, for those of you who are concerned about Windows 11 and all their weird pain points and stuff like that, there is now a new Genius app out there that'll help you bypass all of those weird install issues. I actually went through a fresh Windows 11 install with a buddy of mine because he just built a brand new computer the other day. And it was actually kind of cool to see the process of a new OS fresh install that I'd never seen before. So it didn't seem too terrible, though.
Yeah, it's the big features of this are getting rid of the Microsoft account requirement and the TPM requirements.
The Microsoft account requirement is as simple as not having it plugged into the network when you go to install it for the first time.
Sure, but now with this, you don't have to, right? You can run this instead. So, let's see. ARM's new flagship GPU will include hardware ray tracing support, so your phone can do some extra beautiful graphics.
That's a little nutty.
Well, for a lot of people, their phone is their, one and only computer. It seems like increasingly. So,
well, you know how they had laptops where you could hook an external GPU up to them, like over USB? What about like just an external, like 3090 card I can plug into my phone, and then I can play Fortnite, like with ultra res? I hate phone games. I hate the entire market.
Well, yeah, I don't imagine there's a huge demand for something like that, but for laptops, it's been an interesting little niche. AMD has a new CPU, the Threadripper Pro, that has 128 thread count handling in the CPU. Unfortunately, that runs a whopping $6,500 list price. Probably not going to be in anybody's home system anytime soon, unfortunately.
Onto some business and legal stuff. Wizard Battle Royale Spellbreak is shutting down, and the dev is acquired by Blizzard, which is interesting considering Blizzard is in the process of being acquired itself. So
they must have been desperate to get out of business.
Yeah, I don't know, but there's that.
Well, it's about 100 developers that are part of this company, and they will be working on the next WoW expansion, Dragonflight, apparently.
So, Alice Madness Returns is back on Steam again. I guess not too long ago it had disappeared, but it was by mistake, and now it is back. So,
yeah, these are classic games, and it's had a really tumultuous history with being, listed, delisted, listed again a couple times now. EA has a special version on Origin that's not available on Steam that adds some features, but there's a hack way to add it back to the Steam version. So, but if you like kind of dark gothic horror stuff, these two games, American McGee's Alice and Alice Madness Returns, the sequel, are worth checking out. They still hold up. I mean, there's a little bit of combat, a little bit of 3D platforming, and a whole lot of creepy characters from Wonderland. So,
well, soon, as early as this month, Valorant will start listening to your voice chat, which is another reason why I say don't use in-game voice chat. Usually, if there's a game that has it, I go in and immediately mute it because we got Discord. So, get out of here, China.
Yeah. Apparently their goal is to use AI to listen to voice chat and develop models for abusive or bad behavior in voice chat, so they can proactively ban people. But
really, it's because they're part owned by Tencent, and the Chinese government wants to listen to everything that you say.
There are certainly a number of people who think that's the case for sure.
So yeah, that's my conspiracy. I'm sticking with it.
And that, I mean, I'm not too far off from thinking the same thing, but it is a rather and I'm just going to leave this here. It is a rather strange thing to have an AI determine whether or not something I say jokingly to my buddy in voice chat, because we're bros, and the AI not distinguishing me, just giving Mellified some crap for being, I don't know,
whatever.
Terrible.
Yeah.
But not that I know, because we don't play Valorant, but it's just like, how is the thing supposed to distinguish between, friends giving each other a hard time, or someone truly being a terrible human being.
Toxic,
So
person. Yeah, I don't know, and I think it's interesting because Riot, the developer of Valorant, has a really mixed reputation for dealing with toxic player bases because of League of Legends, which is notorious for this. So I guess they're trying to improve this, but to Alien Pickle's point, this same technology could be used to look for people using phrases that are not allowed by or not desirable by a particular government. So it is a little chilling to think about the negative applications of this.
Yeah, it's like somebody in China says democracy, and then the goon squad kicks in the door.
Yeah. I mean, it is not far fetched that they could use this technology for those purposes. So, another bit of sort of sad news: Unity has laid off 200 employees in a bid to realign resources. What's a little bit apparently Unity had about 5,800 employees as of March, and another report says as many as 400 people were laid off. However, what's upsetting for a lot of folks is the CEO, John Riccatello, was telling employees as recently as 2 weeks ago that the company was in no financial trouble and wouldn't be letting anyone go. So definitely seems like there's some contradiction going on there, and kind of unfortunate that all these folks lost their jobs. So
yeah, it's like there should be a lawsuit based on like this guy lied his ass off, right?
Yeah. Well, and let's give him the benefit of the doubt, right? Let's say it was true when he said it, but 2 weeks later things had changed. Like, why are you so clueless about your company's financial situation that it could change that radically in 2 weeks? Like, that seems like a problem.
I'm just not buying it.
Well, yeah.
I've worked for companies that would do that before. There's absolutely, it's like they had Baghdad Bob there. It's like, no, there is no problem. Nothing bad is happening. And then the layoffs hit the next day. It's like, we just didn't want anybody to bolt in the couple of days while we figured out who we were actually going to keep.
Yeah, well, no. Hopefully, all these folks will land great jobs soon, because that's always going to be challenging.
Yep.
Well, the nice part is if they're a developer for the engine, they can pretty much work on any game on it. So
that's true. Yeah.
Well,
moving on to funny and strange.
Yes, indeed. We talked about Doom earlier. Someone, and this is always going to be the joke, can you get Doom to run on it? Someone got Doom running in a McDonald's on one of the kiosk order things.
How long did they have to let that person stand there unattended while they hacked the thing to get Doom running on it? That's pretty hot.
Yeah, I don't know the full context of the story. So apparently, according to this article, there's some interesting thing here. PC Gamer updated their article on this, so I'm actually going to read this. It says, PC Gamer has become both a victim and perpetrator of the heady and dangerous climate of disinformation on the internet. As reported by The Byte, this photo of Doom running on McDonald's ordering kiosk was a Photoshop of this image from 2019 showing the ordering kiosk suffering from a blue screen of death. So, unfortunately, not real. But...
Well, I heard on the recovered alien craft from Roswell, they got Doom running on it.
That's true. Yeah, they did. But
we can't get it to fly, but we got it running Doom.
But funny enough. So there you go.
So, Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, which is the TV series from Amazon, will apparently have female orcs.
Okay.
What if like they all had a ring of power and then they like touched them together and then they turned into
Captain
like
Planet,
a giant wizard? Yeah, and then they could defeat Sauron.
EA has been doing a social media campaign, and they made a meme that got some people pretty upset. I will read the tweet that they posted direct. They're a 10, but they only like playing single player games, which of course implies that someone would be less attractive if they don't play multiplayer. Which I guess, you know, whether that bothers you or not, maybe a little bit of your personal perspective.
It's just a dumb statement. That's all it is. It's just
okay. I mean,
just to let everybody know, like the last 5 minutes of me telling jokes about that have been deleted from the podcast because I had some really saucy. I'm not gonna bother making you edit it out. I just won't say it. But I got some hot sauce.
You got some jokes for this?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
they're on my Twitter timeline. The
there you
FBI's
go.
already read them.
Okay.
All right, this next one's kind of funny. Call of Duty now makes cheaters' weapons vanish. So there you go. Have fun with that one. This kind of reminds me of EVE Online. There was a thing where CCP was getting tired of some of these bots that were like farming out in 0 space and like Titans and shit. And so they had them teleported to Jita and let like the players just handle it. Well, in another piece of weird and funny and strange news, a drunk employee passes out on the street, losing 2 USB sticks holding the personal data of an entire city.
I thought it was a real tragedy, like he lost his Bitcoin wallet or something.
Well, no, but he had the personal data of something like, what was it, like 400,000 people or something crazy?
Almost 500,000.
Yeah, residents from, I'm going to try this, Amagasaki, Japan. Allegedly, they have recovered the USB drives, but it's just like, and apparently it was encrypted, but that's kind of just a silly thing to like have on you and then to lose. Oh my gosh, Yeah,
did you see the story about the crypto bro that bought a yacht and then sank his yacht and his crypto key was on the yacht, so now he's broke?
Oh, jeez.
Did he sink the yacht on purpose?
No, it's not like that YouTuber with his airplane.
Oh yeah, what a crazy, stupid person. Anyway, what do we got next year?
Those. Kyle MacLachlan, who is a very well-known actor from things like Twin Peaks and Dune, has joined the Amazon production of the Fallout.
Oh yeah, he was the original Paul Atreides in the 1980 Dune movie. So yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. I'm no word on what character he'll be playing or anything, but he'll be involved.
Well, open your Overwatch loot boxes, or Blizzard will do it for you.
This is part of the switch over to Overwatch 2. Apparently, that they're gonna clear out all the old loot boxes.
There was a YouTuber I was watching the other day who like doesn't give a crap about loot boxes and has like over 1,000 unopened boxes on Overwatch or something like that. And she's constantly being told by her chat to like open up the boxes, and she's like, "Why? It doesn't have anything in there that's gonna like help me like win the game." So it's like I don't even care. So
good attitude, but they're gonna get opened now. NetHack is now in the Museum of Modern Art. One of the original old school games has made it to to some recognition for. I mean, this is ASCII stuff, but pretty darn cool.
Well, The Boys showrunner wants to team up with Hideo Kojima to make a game. I don't know how I feel about that. It'll probably be a very gory game.
Well, apparently Kojima was working on something that was very similar in theme to The Boys when the show came out, and so when that became known, the showrunner said, "Hey, let's work together. Let's make that game." So
make that money.
Yeah. And last but not least, get your Radio Shack cryptocurrency. Yes, it turns out that the Twitter account for the long dead Radio Shack is now posting about a new cryptocurrency radio. Yay.
Wow. Well, that's definitely strange.
Cryptocurrency radio?
The name of the cryptocurrency is radio.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it's Radio Shack. Maybe they sell a radio that just plays cryptocurrency. It's like put another Bitcoin in the jukebox.
Yeah. Audio NFTs.
Oh God, no! Please no.
It's that value for value. Like there are podcast apps that actually bill the person while they're listening to the podcast. So as you continue to listen, it continues to take a penny from you every so often. And that way it's like if the show's boring, you didn't pay much, but if you listen to the whole thing, then you ended up paying like the $1 that the full episode is or whatever.
That's interesting.
Podcast 2.0 or whatever.
Well, until then, OtherWorldsGG is free as always. You can join us on our Discord at discord.otherworlds.gg, and we would love to have you. We're always talking about games, about wacky news, about what's going on. So lots of fun.
If you would like to pay me $100 for a cartoon of an ugly monkey, then we could arrange something.
Well, that'll do it for this week's episode, guys. So, as Melophyte said, come on over to our Discord server. This has been episode number 68, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yeehaw.